Sergei Sergeyevich Bodrov was born in Moscow on the 27th of December 1971. He was the only child of director Sergei Vladimirovich Bodrov and art historian Valentina Nikolaevna Bodrova, though the young couple was separated by 1977. Sergei, despite his troubles, was a calm, well-behaved, well-liked boy who had no intentions of becoming an actor. He wanted to be a bin man. His dreams of the rubbish truck would unfortunately not come to be because in 1986, at the age of 14, he would appear in Yet Again in a Visual, or I Hate You, a television film by his father where he played a boy at an equestrian club. Quite the prestigious role, if you ask me. It seemed only right that after my last video I naturally moved on to Sergei. It's hard to research either Tsoy or Bodrov without recommendations for the other. Whether that be in video games that represent graffiti in any post-Soviet Russian town, or the ads of any Yandex search for Sergei.
Why though?
Why the constant comparisons? They're so different after all. Sergei was a nationalist who didn't believe in criticising his country. Tsoy was not. Tsoy was a musician. Sergei was not. What they do have in common is impact. Victor had held the title of Idol of the Century until 1995 when Sergei, according to some, stole it from the Kino frontman. Victor Tsoy and Sergei Bodrov are people sent to us by God himself to create history, said Maxim Topin in a VK post. They left behind an incredible legacy, and by doing so they didn't go away forever. They will be remembered by us as two of the greatest men of our modern times. They died young and will remain in our hearts forever. Eternal memory to the great ones. So, what was it that made Sergei so beloved? If you've clicked on this video because you loved Sergei already, then there is 0% chance that you don't know the answer to this question. First of all, I wonder, what came before Brat?
Siskel and Ebert give it 2 thumbs up. The New York Times calls it strong, exotic, and beautiful. One of the very best films you'll see in 1997. Prisoner of the Mountains, rated R, now playing.
Prisoner of the Mountains is another film by Sergei Sr. Based on Tolstoy's 1872 short story, A Prisoner in the Caucasus. It's a Russian war drama that focuses on the personal struggle between 2 Russian soldiers and their Chechen captors. It achieved critical acclaim, being nominated for Best Foreign Language Film at the Oscars and the Golden Globes. Apparently the movie also played a role in initiating peace talks between Russia and its Chechen neighbours. It was shown to Boris Yeltsin, who began discussions the following day. The plot. It's the First Russian-Chechen War. Sergei's character Ivan is conscripted into military service and ends up in Chechnya, in an armoured vehicle alongside Sergeant Sasha. They are attacked and taken hostage to a mountain village by the Chechens, where they are kept in a stable by village chief Abdul Murat, who wants to exchange them for his son, who's been held by the Russians. Abdul's daughter Dina secretly provides them with food, and she and Ivan become close. Sasha and Ivan perform tasks like defusing landmines, earning them respect in the village. Not realising that Ivan's mother has successfully negotiated an exchange, he and Sasha attempt to escape, which results in, spoiler alert, Sasha's execution. When Abdul's own son is killed, he plans to execute Ivan too. Dina attempts to free Ivan, but knowing how much trouble that would cause for her, he refuses.
Не могу я. Тебя здесь не простят.
In the end, Abdul chooses to let Ivan live, but as he walks away he sees a squadron of Russian military helicopters fly by to attack the village. He tries, unsuccessfully, to signal them to stop. The movie ends with Ivan's narration. He's forever haunted by the events and can't forget everyone involved. Quick history lesson. The First Chechen War began on the 11th of December 1994, and it was just one of many examples since 1785 of the Chechen fight to remain independent from Russia. During the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, Chechnya came under the control of Dudiev and his secessionist regime. Russian President Boris Yeltsin supported anti-Dudiev militia until 1994 when he launched a military attack that he claimed was to help establish constitutional order in Chechnya. Thousands of Chechen civilians were killed before Grozny was captured in March 1995. Russian victory was denied though, as efforts to establish control over the lowlands and mountains were met with fierce resistance by Chechen guerrillas. Both sides were as elusive and secretive as ever when disclosing death tolls, but it's estimated that Russian losses were as high as 14,000, though they claimed 5,500, and Chechen losses, despite Aslan Maskhadov's claim of 2,800, it was closer to 10,000. Even though Dudiev was killed in a Russian airstrike in 1996, Grozny was recaptured by separatists, bringing about the Russia-Chechnya peace treaty in 1997. Civilian losses were as high as 120,000.
Во время войны нельзя говорить плохо о своих. Никогда. Даже если они не правы. Как бы даже там, если твоя сторона не права во время войны, ты не должен говорить о ней плохо. Мне кажется, это очень такой простой принцип. Он очень старый, очень примитивный, но это так. Когда ничего не угрожает, когда война кончилась, тогда да, тогда можно говорить. Вот это было не так, и это было не так. И давайте постараемся, чтобы в будущем этого не было. А мы против этой войны, все против, но мы не там. И как бы наши дети, те, кто это говорит, они тоже не там. Они здесь, в Москве. Вот. Поэтому нужно всегда как бы думать, когда ты говоришь про это, и всегда понимать, что там кто-то, в общем, умирает.
Brat is a 1997 neo-noir crime drama. There's a large percentage of Russians who would tell you that this is one of the most iconic movies in the country's history. Those who don't love it acknowledge its place, its importance in Russian culture. It's a perfect visual time capsule of 1990s Russia. I'm yet to visit Russia, and even I know it's hard to avoid depictions of Sergei's character Danila Bodrov countrywide, particularly in St. Petersburg, where, of course, the movie was filmed and based. In 1996 at the Sochi Film Festival, Sergei met director Alexei Balabanov. Balabanov had directed several music videos for the band Nautilus Pompilius, whose music is a recurring theme and feature of Brat.
А у вас наутилусов крылья есть? Компакт-диск?
Тебе что надо? Иди отсюда, то милицию позову.
What do you say fuck me for?
In 1994, along with Sergei Selyunov and Viktor Sergeyev, Alexei would form the CTB production company that would, 3 years later, produce Brat. The plot. Demobbed soldier Danila Bodrov returns home to Priozersk, though it's argued that it's supposed to be Balabanov's hometown of Sverdlovsk. And while wandering around bored and directionless, he stumbles onto the set of the music video for the aforementioned Wings. This is the first of several occasions we see him ask for the title of the song. Don't worry folks, he gets it eventually. He ends up in a fight with security, however, before getting his answer. He is released from police custody to his mother, who implores him to visit his brother Victor. Despite her glowing review of her eldest son, Victor's actually a contract killer who ends up tricking his younger brother, our beloved Danila, into working for the St. Petersburg mob. He lies to him, claiming that the Chechen mafia boss he's been hired to kill has been extorting him. This convinces Danila to agree. While in St. Petersburg, Danila befriends Kat, a party girl with ungodly amounts of energy.
Goffman.
A street vendor Danila helps and becomes close with after a thug attempts to extort him. Hoffman helps Danila rent a room in an apartment of an old alcoholic war veteran. Danila successfully kills the Chechen, a mission which included him dressing in a disguise and detonating homemade bombs at the market as a distraction. He barely gets away at all, being shot and chased by Krugli, the St. Petersburg mafia boss's men. He does just about, however, thanks to a passing tram being driven by Svetlana, who later goes on to have an affair with Danila despite having a husband. Without spoiling the rest of it for you, I'll end it by saying the film is full of betrayal, anger, more violence, and one of the best soundtracks of any film ever. It ends with Danila going out onto the snowy highway as he leaves for Moscow. The budget for Brat or Brother was only $10,000, though it went on to make an insane $1.4 million at the box office. Due to the film's success, the sequel was released in 2000 and is based in Moscow and Chicago. Balabанов's inspiration for the films came from his desire to create something that heavily featured musicians and bandits, since his life was full of both. It's a movie that is still a big topic of conversation online between Russians, Eastern Europeans, and Westerners like me wanting to learn about Russian pop culture.
Каждый человек задумывается там о смерти, как каждый человек задумывается о Боге. Да, я просто не уверен, нужно ли об этом говорить перед камерой. Бояться не нужно. Нужно просто помнить и все. И тогда жить будет, может быть, немножко сложнее, да, но правильнее.
In September 2002, Sergei and the film crew for his movie The Messenger arrived in North Ossetia, Alania. At around 7 PM on September 20th, filming stopped due to bad lighting conditions. A rock ice slide occurred shortly after, causing mudflow that covered Kamadon Gorge. 135 people and animals, including Bodrov, were killed. Sergei left behind his wife, Svetlana Mikhailova, and 2 children, Olga and Alexander. Alexei Balabanov, who had recommended the shooting location to Sergei, was crushed by guilt and grief, as well as his close friendship with Bodrov. He'd worked with a lot of the cast and crew too. Two years prior, actress Tiara Svinobayeva was killed during the filming of his movie, The River. He became an alcoholic, dying on May 18, 2013 of a heart attack. Sadly, Sergei's body was never recovered. Alexei is buried in Smolensky Cemetery, St. Petersburg. Rest in peace.